It is no longer months, but just weeks until GPT-5 will be here. Now, that's pretty profound, but I don't want to overhype. I know I've overhyped some models in the past, so I'm going to try to make a grounded and underhyped, if anything, analysis of what this model is and what it's going to be. So specifically what I want to do at first is just play a few different clips from Sam Altman himself. These are statements he made just months ago about what GPT-5 is going to be. And it seems reasonable to say that if he said those statements just a few months ago of what GPT-5 is going to be, it might be possible that it actually turns out to be something similar to that. So let's play the clips and then we'll dive into a further analysis.
I think, going from GPT-3 to GPT-4 really surprised the world. GPT-4 to GPT-5 will be a similar leap. And it's amazing, the capability of these models. They're getting so smart that maybe by the time of GPT-5 or 6, maybe you'll say, that's enough intelligence. It's already smarter than me. At this point, how do you integrate it? How do you make it easy to use? Can we bring voice mode and canvas, video, and all of our features together? And can we have just this one model that can do everything? That knows when to search the web, it knows when to go to a research project, it knows when to write code, it knows when to switch into voice mode. So I think that integration will be the next big milestone after we gain the intelligence side. We want to bring GPT and O together. So we want one integrated model, the AGI, that does everything all together. It knows when to think hard, it knows when to be quick, it can use all the tools.
I don't think I'm going to be smarter than GPT-5, and I don't feel sad about it because I think it just means that we'll be able to use it to do incredible things.
So effectively, everybody on Earth who has a cell phone has a super intelligent assistant, maybe not super intelligent, but a really smart assistant. Sam Altman said it's going to be smarter than him, and he doesn't seem like a dummy by any means. Now, we will say it's going to be smarter on certain dimensions. It won't be smarter on all dimensions because it lacks a certain type of agency to cause certain causal factors in the world for now. But what I will say for sure is the fact that any single human has this Proto-AGI. I'm happy to call it that. It depends on your definition of AGI and all that stuff, of course. But my definition of AGI is you don't use computers the traditional way of the mouse and keyboard. We're using computers the Star Trek way of where you talk to it and it does any arbitrarily complex thing on a computer that pretty much any human can do or beyond that. Now, I think that's happening very soon. GPT-5, I think, is the very first step towards that, where you start to get the convergence of the modalities of these models, where you have the operator, where you get all of these different modalities converging into one model. This isn't news. This should be something that you're pretty aware of by now if you've been keeping up, that GPT-5 is going to have all of these different things. And I think very soon after that, we actually have a tweet from Aiden, who is one of the employees at OpenAI. He says they have an operating system model, and it is blowing his mind. We also have a tweet from Yassine, who is one of the engineers at X, the X platform, and he also tried a model that he said was pretty profound, and Aiden actually replied to that as well. So it seems like, and I could be wrong, but it seems like very soon, probably by the end of this year, maybe early next year, we're going to start to see the convergence of the models within the chat interface on ChatGPT with integrating with the actual operating system and those sorts of things. So you could basically go to the ChatGPT app on your Mac or on your computer. If you have the app installed, you can just talk to it and it literally does things. I think that is quite literally at least a proto form of AGI, where you were talking to your computer, it integrates with the operating system, it uses the command line, it understands and knows how to use operator and can do it very intuitively whenever it needs to be used. It has all of this data and context of pretty much anything you would want done on your computer at all. And you just talk to your computer and it works. That's not far. I think that's one of the big things that most people aren't really realizing right now, in my opinion, is so many people are focused on these different types of things where you have to be a very skilled laborer on the computer. And it's bro, the problem space of the computer isn't that broad. I mean, somewhat broad, sure, it's somewhat broad, but the problem space of the computer, I think, is going to be saturated pretty quickly now that we're applying agentic reinforcement learning with these models. There's actually a pretty funny two pictures that I saw on Twitter. I thought it was pretty funny, so I'll include them. There is the social media platforms scaling versus ChatGPT scaling and revenue, and then there is the technological singularity with humans and then AI, right? So basically, the doom scrollers they're going to need to change their behavior. Let's just put it that way. Doom scrolling is probably not a very viable long-term business model. Maybe people should really start to take these tools seriously. I do think it's very pressing at this point. If you're not like coding with the models, if you're not building software with the models, if you're not building real things with the AI tools, you're not really growing with them. For one, that's really the important thing. Is like the one thing, the dimensions that these models are becoming really good at is the dimensions that you should be focusing on and applying the models to. And the first dimension that they're becoming cracked at is software engineering coding. And if you can grow with the models, I think that's a very good framework to understand how you should be adapting with this technology is. Not just like waiting for the technology to carry you, but start where the technology is, look at the vector of improvement that is accelerating on rapidly. For now it's coding, and it'll continue to go even broader, and then grow with it along that vector. And then it'll start to go into other vectors and start to grow with it there as well. And that's how you start to get like that merge that everybody talks about. And you're kind of like growing together. And it's just a very powerful framework and way of thinking about what these tools are, what they do, and how they can aid you. So I think that is kind of where things are heading right now, where we go towards using computers the Star Trek way. And I think GPT-5 is kind of like the first glimpse of that. And GPT, whatever comes after, I guess it'll probably be GPT-6 or whatever. GPT-6 will probably be the one that is really integrated with the actual operating system. And they'll probably just continue to improve that model. Or maybe they integrate GPT-5 with the operating system. I don't know. But what I do know is these things are coming. And GPT-5 is just the first glimpse of what's to come. If you look at the sentiment of all of the researchers at the big frontier labs right now, the sentiment is very simple. The next 2 years are going to accelerate so much faster than the previous two. And that's all that matters, right? The next 2 years are going to accelerate so much faster than the previous two. I'm going to play this one clip from one of the lead people at Anthropic, and then I'll kind of like talk about what he said.
9 to 12 months.
Oh,
What
man.
AI capability do you predict will be?
9 to 12 months is so long from now.
So long.
Let's say 6 months.
Certainly, we see a world very quickly where it becomes teams of agents orchestrating very complex tasks, not just like writing code, but coming up with the problems that need to be solved. Like the exponential is moving so quickly that's why I laughed and talked about it being hard to speculate because the last 6 months looks more different than the 6 months before that looked, right? For me.
Yeah.
And I expect that to continue.
No, it's insane. I think the last 6 months were crazy. Like I just like see the last 6 months. I'm like mind blown on the speed of development from 3.5 to 4.0 to some extent is just crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's insane like how models have changed.
Yeah, and there's so much you don't see, right? The model's being good at storing its own memories from old interactions, writing them in files based on its own assessment that like this is going to be something interesting to remember and pick back up later. Like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that accrues into the intelligence.
So taking a big step back, thinking about what he said, which is pretty profound. Think about the transition from GPT 3.5, like the somewhat okay but pretty bad model that really messed up at a lot of things, but it was like the first form of an AI system, to where we are today. That time horizon isn't very much, but the capabilities have literally been a vertical lift. Now let's play that out 2 more years with the continuation of acceleration. That's the big thing. The continuation of acceleration. These things aren't linear. These are accelerating curves. They're not linear. We have so much evidence, so much proof of all of these accelerating curves. We have so much proof of the pre-training accelerating. We have so much proof of the inference test time compute scaling accelerating. We have so much proof of the actual applied agentic reinforcement learning accelerating. These things are compounding on each other rapidly. And they're also riding on the backbone of Moore's law, which is always accelerating. So we have an acceleration on acceleration on acceleration, exponentials all the way up, all the way down. And the next 2 years are going to move faster. As the guy said in the video, as the head dude at Anthropic said in the video, the level 5 AGI systems where you have like organizational level AI, where you're just kind of like a CEO effectively, or a manager managing AIs, and that's kind of the new model. That's kind of the new thing. Nobody's really thinking about these things. Like, I see people building like in workflows, these little systems and automations, and they are spending all this time building them, and they are effective today. But those entire systems are going to be obsoleted in like a few weeks from now. And then in a few months from now, it's going to be like, okay, well, those systems are now automated too. And pretty soon, instead of going to any agency to buy a service, people are just going to go to OpenAI, sign up, and it just works. You just talk to your computer and it does things. It's not that an AGI level system is a system that you integrate. An AGI level system is a computer that you buy, you set it on your desk, you sign up for one platform, and now it does anything you want it to without any human intervention, any human need at all. You don't need to hire an agency. If you want to, I guess you could hire like a co-founder, but then you're not even hiring anymore. So that's like one of the rants I have about like the business models that everybody talks about, but we don't need to get into that. The big thing is the scaling of the models, of course. I think we're about to see Proto-AGI. I think AGI is going to be here next year, and I think we're only going to continue to scale from there. ASI, if you want to call it that, probably 2027, 2028, we're going to have like an ASI level system. And at that point, you just buy a computer, you put it on your desk, and now you just start to let ASI fucking do anything you want it to on the computer. And I think these models are going to be localized very soon. I don't know if you saw the tweet. I'll put it on the screen from Sam Altman. He said, when do you expect to have an O3 mini level model running locally on your phone? People said 2025. Sam Altman recently said they're going to be launching an open source model. I think there's a little bit of a hint going on here. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, though. I don't want to overstimulate your guys' brains with too much information about AI because I want to make another video that goes a lot deeper. So hopefully this brought some important things to the top of mind. If it did, follow, subscribe, whatever. Also, I have another channel linked in the description below that's all about business, all about artificial intelligence and business. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. That being said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.